I'm going to talk about the foster care aficionado. The problem here is that in the United States, foster care is a state-provided system where children who can't live safely at home with their families are temporarily placed with another family. It can be with relatives or another family that's willing to care for a child. Um, and then eventually at the end, uh, hopefully when there are a few different outcomes that children can return to live with their own families. They may be adopted by their foster family or another family, or they become adults and graduate out of foster care. Um, an interesting opportunity and problem is that throughout the US, each state sets their own policies for how they administer foster care. And so we have lots of different states, lots of different policies, and extensive data about the outcomes. So, so how can we understand those results? Because they track lots of different metrics for the kids who go through foster care of like how many times are they, how many different families do they have in the foster care system? Are they able to return back to their families? Like, do they graduate from high school? A lot of foster kids may be more at risk of like early pregnancies or in later in their lives incarceration or less likely to finish high school or lots of different so there's lots of different angles and perspectives that we could consider with all of this data across different states and all the kids that and families that are involved in foster care. So success in this project would look like empowering researchers, which can inform policy decisions and lead to more thriving families and healthy kids. Uh, so I'm mostly focused on the research part at this stage, um, to make it easier for researchers to be able to find insights of which policies are working across different states. Uh, and this tool will also help to spark curiosity, make it really easy for researchers to ask questions and get inspiration for new questions they might ask, and also be able to automate the process of finding and comparing data across these data sets. And then that can inform policy decisions with policymakers and people who are implementing policies throughout states to be able to do more of the things that are working and less of things that aren't. The hope is that that would lead to more stability within the lives of foster kids, within families before kids enter foster care, within foster families, and be able to reduce churn of kids coming into foster care or returning to foster care, and then ultimately to have kids who are healthier and live more productive and fulfilling lives as they go out into society. The researchers who I am working with at this point, their frustrations and their goals, they want to understand the correlation and causation across state policies to understand which decisions, which policies are leading to different outcomes. Their motivations can be personal and professional. Some of them are foster parents themselves or are close to people who are involved in the foster care system. And this is also, and for them in academia, a great area for interesting research questions and impactful solutions. And their frustrations are that there's a lot of unstructured data sources involved. Different states document their foster care policies in very different formats, in PDFs or on lots of different types of websites that are not consistent and are being updated at irregular frequencies. So being able to keep track of all the different policies and they're not structured the same way either. So to to be able to know how we can compare meaningfully how do the policies of this state compare to others, and then be able to see which states are similar or which states are different. I'm starting work with researchers in economics and healthcare, beginning at Washington University at St. Louis and BYU. Uh, Thanks to Ian Fillmore and Brennan and Christine Platt for their interest and their support in this project. So the solution is a very simple, familiar chat interface, just a chat bot that researchers can come to this interface, and you can see this is publicly hosted on AWS, so they can come and send their requests and ask questions about different state policies. And there's a checkbox that researchers can explicitly specify whether they want to allow web searches or not. If they want to only stay in the pre-processed and like pre-approved sources that we've been curating, or if they want to allow the agent to search the web for maybe other sources or more recent sources. Technical diagram of how this works. The users, researchers ask a question. Um, there's a React front end and Python backend. By choosing, and then these are hosted in a Docker container on AWS currently. By choosing these very common and familiar tools, uh, researchers anywhere would maybe be familiar with these or know people or be able to quickly learn resources that would allow them to understand how the existing system's working, be able to host it locally and make their own adjustments, their own improvements as we continue this work. And then the key part of this is the high quality source material that is our vector store. So we're starting with like PDFs and just web scraping web content. And we currently have research assistants who have been um, like coding and tagging that all those sources for different states to have high quality metadata, and then we embed those in our Qdrant vector store. So then our LangChain AI model can search through those documents within our RAG system to find what what documents are relevant for this query. And then optionally, they can go to the cloud and to the internet and search for more resources, and that gets returned to the user. Also very important, LangSmith will be used for gathering performance metrics. And so with this, we'll be able to continue to evaluate how effective is our system at staying on topic, how effectively is it retrieving relevant information, and be able to incrementally improve that and iterate, trying different language models, different retrieval techniques, and and RAGAS is a tool that we can use to generate synthetic data, which will be helpful in evaluating the system performance, but I think maybe more interestingly, it will generate example questions that maybe researchers haven't thought about, that will start with the source data and use RAGAS to generate what are some example questions that we could answer with this data, which could lead to lots of interesting research. So the next steps are to share this with more researchers to get their feedback, have them use the existing tool, and then integrate more deeply with the current university and the current team that I'm working with to integrate with their existing database and their like OpenAI API keys and make sure that it works in their actual systems. Continue to iterate and evaluate and try with different models, different retrieval techniques, and see what leads to the most high quality results, and make sure that we're that the model is not hallucinating and that it is citing relevant sources and accurately re returning the metadata that is useful for researchers who need the rigor to dig in further. So a big thank you to the researchers that I've been working with, Ian Fillmore, Brennan, and Christine, and big thank you to BYU and Very Good Ventures for sponsoring this work so far.